Happy Halloween! This is Rumor, and today I was feeling in the mood to do my haunted house spread for myself. And I plan to do this privately, but I just thought, well, as I'm sitting to do it, why don't I just film it and share it with all of you? I feel like it would only be fair to follow Juli being such a good sport. I am speaking of Juli from her channel, Peekaboo Rose. She was such an amazing sport last week, letting me do a public reading for her during our live chat, or rather the reading that I made her basically do for herself. I basically served as like the shuffler and the holder up of the cards and let her go off of that. I am continuing to be grateful, Juli, that you offered yourself up for that and are such an excellent tarot reader. I was very moved and entertained by it all. But in any case, in an earlier video this month, shared the decks that were at my table. My Trick or Tarot is still here, as is the Halloween Oracle. But I have since switched out the Seasons of the Witch Oracle, the Mabon for the Samhain, and I switched out the Raven's Prophecy for the Horror Tarot right here, just as we're going deeper and deeper into this season and leaves officially flying off the trees here. Whereas, I don't know, earlier in the month, it really wasn't feeling that autumnal to me yet. And this is probably the slowest going I've been getting into spooky season. Like when I was seeing stuff being posted from the States back in September already, I was like, no, too soon. And I think I would always feel that way. That's a bit much. I like to keep this to October, but I wasn't feeling it like until really just the last few days. I gotta say, I don't know really what's going on with me this year that I just wasn't really feeling in the spirit of Halloween. I do think part of it was that the weather wasn't feeling very spooky. It still felt rather summer-like, and I don't know. I've been enjoying this year. I've been letting go and going with a lot of flow, and I've been busy and actively engaging with my projects, and I think I just have felt sunnier this year than I have in perhaps the last couple of years, and I don't think I was really ready to let go of that yet. But now that I'm steeped into it though, and it is Halloween this week, I'm ready for it. I'm feeling these feels now, and I think it's a great opportunity to go into this descent as the darkness falls and our daylight hours dwindle further and further, and we enter more into a time of introspection, reflection, honoring those who have passed, so on, so forth. But in the spirit of this shadowy place, I am finally ready to enter. How about I do my shadowy spread, the haunted house spread? And yeah, it's the same one that I've shared with you all before. Is it repetitive to just do the same thing? Yeah, maybe, but it still works for me. So I see no reason to come up with something else. I wasn't going to just for the novelty of it. I still find it to be an effective spread, but we'll see. This may be the reading that changes my mind. So you're along for the ride with me. But rather than these lovely decks that are at the table, with the exception of the Halloween Oracle, which I will pull a card from for my purposes here, I haven't played with all of my spooky decks yet this season, given it's taken me so long to get in the mood for it. And so I have not pulled out Tarot of Haunted House yet. So how fitting to do a haunted house spread with the haunted house deck. So that's what I'm going to do. And if you have seen my previous video introducing this spread, I often like to use 3 different decks with it. One big oracle card at the end, but then something from a smaller deck to add other insight. It could be an oracle card from an oracle deck as well, or it can be tarot. So I don't know where I put the box for this, but this is my little mini Bohemian Gothic tarot. Its size will suit my purposes just wonderfully today, as well as its overall aesthetic. So we're going to run with that. Let me adjust this down and we'll see how well I can actually fit everything into frame. Okay, hopefully this will suffice. So I'm hoping too that I can remember what the heck the positions are. I don't have it written down before me. I haven't done this for myself for some time, probably not since last spooky season. And I think when I shared the spread with you all, I was just doing sample readings with it. I am going to do this for myself though. And FYI, if anyone hasn't seen this deck before, this edging is my own doing. I think I used a distress ink on it. This is one of my favorite decks, and I don't relegate it just to this time of year. I think it's fantastic to use all year round. I really love using it if I'm incorporating tarot into my story writing. If I'm kind of stuck on something, tarot is a great tool for writing. You creative writers out there, if you haven't tried it, I recommend it. And this deck in particular has such a great sense of story running throughout it, written by Sasha Graham. So I feel like it's that sense of character and story and setting that just stands out so vividly in this deck that lends itself well to that purpose. But in any case, I think that was the deck telling me it's done. Or not, I don't know. I have to feel a very clear place to split the deck before I quit the shuffling. That will do it. Okay, so here is the outer structure of our house, and I think since I have to grab this oracle deck anyway, I will move this out of the way so I can nudge things up a bit here. So let's see. This will show up better for you. Always with the adjusting here, always with the adjusting here. I can never really see through my camera that well. But okay, I will explain what the positions are as I go along. But this is meant to be the house. The reason why I like to use a little card here is just so it can fit in that little space right there as a window to the haunted house. And now, oracle card. Let's serve as the door on the ground floor. The blueprint of this house is not going to be technically accurate, as you'll see when I go through what these card positions are, but you get the idea. It works for our purposes. So, architects, don't come after me. That's quite a clean split. Okay. Okay. Does this look okay? I guess it'll have to do. I'll hold up the cards individually anyway. But to get started here, we start with the ghost in the attic. What haunts me? In this case, since I am doing the reading for myself, but doing it for yourself, it's what most haunts you at the moment that you're doing the reading. So in my case, okay. It's taking me a second to remember what the symbols are in this particular deck. I think this is the King of Cups, and oh my gosh, okay. This is the second time today, actually, I've drawn the King of Cups. I drew him earlier with a different deck. I've been using the Trick or Treat Tarot. I've been keeping that one downstairs, kind of just like by the TV as my casual fun deck to grab for just casual and fun readings. But today I was doing a little check-in with myself earlier today, not necessarily meant to be like a shadow reading. But anyway, King of Cups came up, and it really was unmistakably representing my dad. I think this is his signifier card, and it's been showing up a lot for me lately. And it's interesting how these things ebb and flow, because it happened a lot, in the months to follow his passing. And then there's a time where it's not so much, but I feel like this time of year, as we are approaching that thinning of the veil, as they say, I have been really feeling like he's showing up for me, and I've been finding myself thinking of him more and more. I'm never not thinking of him, do not get me wrong, but see above RE, feeling sunnier on the inside this year versus previous ones. This was a year I really do feel like I turned a corner in my grief, which is not to say that the grief just goes away. It definitely is something that is not linear. It cycles around and can flatten you when least expected. And I'm not feeling flattened, but I'm definitely finding myself maybe in more melancholy moods a bit more frequently, not like it was before. It's not as acute as it was before. But it's just like, I just think of him and I miss him. I just miss him so much. And I do feel like he shows up for me in all these different ways. So it's not even like questioning really that he's still with me. However you want to look at that, whether that is spiritually or at least, the memory and the love that's still in my mind and heart, that never goes away either. And so there is that. And I definitely feel that presence with me always, which is such a gift. That's such a blessing. But I feel like lately I've just been finding myself, just really, really wanting to have a conversation with him. It's like you just miss seeing your loved one. You miss hearing their voice. So, all right. I've gone on a long time about that, but I don't question that at the apex of this here, that is a factor right now. Just when I thought like I could move past talking about this, and maybe this is why I have avoided doing personal readings here for a while, because I felt like it just kept coming up, that this is kind of what I'm being called out on, and I likewise can't help but agree that that's the case, because that is something I've become conscious of probably just in the last day or two. and trying to get to the root of like, why am I feeling just like a little bit more mellow, a little bit more down than I was before? Sure, the weather, but again, I think it is just that kind of going within and like reflecting and remembering more. And yeah, it just gives me that little touch of just feeling not sad, just, when you just really miss somebody. You guys get it. So this next card then is the skeleton in the closet. So this is what something I'm consciously hiding away, whether from myself or I'm trying to hide it from others, whatever the case might be. And generally things will probably relate to this, but it could always add like an added layer to it. And we have the High Priestess. This is interesting. And I can't help but wonder, my first thought here is that this might be calling me out on, I think because of this time of year being what it is, even with my ancestral grimoire work, which I've talked about a bit previously, I haven't been as actively engaging with it. I don't think I really have been really sitting and working with my cards as much either. I don't think that I've been tapping into this like intuitive and more mystical side of me and my practice of late, because there is that feeling of, I hate using the expression because a veil is already thin, right? So the already quite thin veil, but let's just say that like boundary between this life and the next, if you believe in that. If there is a thinning there, I think I have been holding back because I have been feeling very sensitive to energies and messages coming through certain readings. And it's funny that my instinctive reaction, rather than leaning into that, is to kind of take a cautious step back. Largely because I sometimes feel like I'm a novice and maybe I'm not doing enough to like protect myself if I'm entering into something. Like the Ancestral Grimoire has definitely been pushing me into the deep end of the pool more than anything else ever has, as far as using the cards and divination for spirit communication, essentially. As much as I try to reframe in my mind that that's what it is, I can't see how it could be anything other than that if I'm like proactively seeking to connect with and learn from an ancestor every month. And so I just haven't been feeling that very much this month. I've been like kind of half-assedly engaging with the activities in Nancy Hendrickson's book, Ancestral Grimoire, I should mention, in case you aren't familiar with that or haven't seen my earlier videos on it. But I don't think I have been taking that time to just kind of sit quietly and go within, not just within for myself, but trying to attune to what messages ancestors, loved ones might have for me at this time, even though this is such a focus of this time of year. And I'll get my act together. I definitely want to properly venerate at the close of this month and beginning of the next. But I just wonder if this is calling me out, though, on kind of tamping that down, because I'm a little timid about opening anything too much. And this just feels like a time of year where it seems like regardless of what I do, things are opening no matter what, if that makes any sense. And I wonder if any of you have been experiencing the same thing, but I just feel like it's been a thing. So then this card is basically the advice for how to throw that closet door open and expose this skeleton. Queen of Wands. Look at her. Va va voom. Okay, well, if I've gotten a little passive with some of my practice and my activities, and even some of my creative work, I feel like with the shift in the season, I've been a little muffled these last few weeks with everything. And I think this lady wants me to light my fire again. And in doing that, getting back in that flow that I spoke of earlier, because I've definitely felt the ebbing of that in this last month. And I think that Queen of Wands is encouraging me to get into that, because then when you do have that flow, it is all just, I don't know, I feel like it is connecting me with something more and getting me into the intuitive realm again. And it's interesting because I do feel like there are times when it is important to ground oneself in the material world, in the present, the here and now. I think that's absolutely necessary now and then. And actually, I feel like I did a reading not all that long ago that was basically saying as much to me, where sometimes I can otherwise, whether I'm getting like too in my head or I'm getting too into this, I'm getting too into my spiritual ruminations and practices, and just thinking beyond this life that I'm currently living, and those that are still here living it with me. I think that there is a time to be here, feet on the ground, live and enjoy this physical world and life. But then that said, I think there's then the time you need to also lift out of that and don't be too of this world, because I think lifting out of it a bit certainly helps me to keep perspective. There's so much bullshit in this material world, and the more I can kind of transcend that, it just kind of helps me weather through some of the more, at best, like tedious, at worst, like troublesome challenges that we can just experience as human beings. But I feel like this is almost communicating the way of like doing both, where it's not like one or the other, but just like the integration of that. And if I can get back into what I have been passionate about for years, and definitely ramping back up this year, then this side of things will just follow suit, and one just kind of begets the other. That helps me progress with my earthly goals and projects, but still in keeping then with what I feel like I meant to do, what optimizes my talents, what I'm here for, and so forth. So I think I'm being told like, okay, I think I was allowed to have my little like nesting period of kind of going low, going within, but I'm being encouraged now to just bring a bit of that fire back. And for added insight on all of this is this window to the haunted house, as depicted by the Bohemian Gothic Tarot mini here. This is a window that can open, and you can open, and it just lets the breeze in. It lets in the light to shed light on this. So here we have the Four of Swords. Interesting. And I wonder if this is just reinforcing that sense of stasis I feel like I have had and have allowed myself in more recent days. But where it's time to reemerge. And, you know, this is a card that came up for me earlier, not today, but just, I don't know, in recent days, in recent weeks, this idea, because I think I did need this, but now I'm being nudged back out of that, because I think what can happen is that's when I'm prone to let the melancholy seep in if I let myself sit and think a little too much. It's a fine line with these things, right? It's good to get our rest, get our mental rest, and then it gets to the point where the mind just starts up again. And then if it's not being busied in productive, creative ways, then that's when it just starts spinning again. And it doesn't matter if I'm like taking a time out. I could sit and try to meditate, but my mind is not going to wind down the way that it needs to for something like that. It's just time to like get active and engaging. So then going to our lower floor here, this is actually going down into the basement. And so this is what I mean, that perhaps this house is not, structurally accurate if we're in line with the ground floor door. But I don't know, maybe this is a cellar door. Could always look at it that way. But anyways, why nitpick here? But this is the body in the basement. So whereas I'm conscious of how I'm hiding this away, this is something that I'm suppressing that I might not be aware of. Or maybe it's a tendency I have. I could have been aware of it at some time, but it's like it's such a common thing to squash it down. I just kind of don't think of it anymore. So it's basically something that needs to be dug up. It's something that I've buried down, whether I've done so consciously or just as sort of a subconscious coping mechanism. I love this card. So we have the Hanged Man. Not the skeleton in the closet, but the skeleton behind the wall, down in the basement. Appropriate, no, for the body in the basement. This is a very interesting card to draw in light of everything I've said before. So I often regard the Hanged Man as kind of that timeout, looking at things from another perspective. I just wonder if this is maybe calling me out on being a bit too hidden in this way. Again, needing to get unstuck from this stasis that I've been suspended in. So looking at it more like a reversal perhaps of what I've needed to do. Like I need to come out of this cocoon. But let's see, I won't get ahead of myself because that's exactly what this card is to shed light on. How do I unbury this body that I've hidden down in the basement, out of sight, out of mind? The moon. So, yeah, I do think that this can often, I would say more often than not, comes up for me in its light sense of like something I'm needing to do. But I do see it in shadow here, and maybe it is because of this hiding away. The moon here is telling me I need to confront basically what's haunting me, what is scaring me. There are certain things, one particular thing very recently that's come about that has kind of been a bit of a setback for me in my confidence for moving forward. It's kind of psyched me out a little bit. And so the tendency is to want to just hide away from that a bit and just withdraw. But I really do think I have to emerge from this suspension, come above ground, and just face it, just face what I need to, and bringing this back into the intuitive realm of the High Priestess. And I love that we can see this big moon here as well in the King of Cups. Yes, I'm definitely being back and forth into the moonlight here. And I think maybe this intuition, these messages from the other side that perhaps I've been trying to block out have advice for me that I need to be listening to, and I need to reconnect with that. And to do that, I need the gumption of this Queen of Wands. So then my door out, I wasn't shuffling reversals. This came up upside down because I must have been holding the deck upside down. But this is the door out of the house. This is so I could be the final girl and escape this house that haunts me. Dawn, the light after the darkness. So I was just speaking of the moonlight, which is dimmer than the sunlight, obviously, but it is light nonetheless. It's more than I could find being buried behind a brick wall. Yes? So let me grab Stacey DeMarco's guidebook for this, because I love reading the guidebook for Oracle cards. I want to hear what the creator has to say. So our little poem is: after the darkest times, the sun will always rise, the dawn will always come, this can be no surprise. Whilst midnight is often thought of as a magical hour, throughout time, dawn has also had its share of the mystical. All manner of magical beings had to return to their true forms by dawn. Werewolves, for example, and vampires could only be active whilst the rays of the sun did not pierce the sky. Dawn and deities of dawn heralded both hope and new life. Goddesses such as, oh gosh, I'm going to say Easter. I'm sure it's not the pronunciation. And gods like Helios and Apollo were those who brought new life and the dawn's light to the world. The journey from the darkest night of the soul to a bright and hopeful dawn is one of the deepest and most powerful heroes' paths repeated over and over in mythology. Should you receive the Dawn card, you are being reminded that there is always a fresh start and a new beginning to be had. Change is unstoppable, and even the most difficult times will pass, no matter how devastating they may seem. Hope is one of the most powerful motivating forces in the universe, and it's being indicated here. So yes, motivation is certainly what I need. Looking to that light, which it's so beautiful. And then have like the sun here that is just bringing out these bright orbs in this reading. Until we can see that light though, it's finding that own inner light, to hold fast to that, take that candelabra until I can get outside to this. And I've really not articulated my way through this very well because, as anticipated, it did get personal. I'm only willing to get so specific with certain things. So while it might sound very loosey-goosey and generalized, I am definitely interpreting and internalizing things in very specific ways here. But I hope that at least I was able to share with you the overall energy of the situation, of what haunts me. And it's just been so interesting because honestly, just as recently as the last couple hours, I was talking to my dad and asking him for guidance and help through the situation that kind of has me a little nervous at the moment. So, it is a fear to face. I've got to keep some courage with it and confidence, and just trust that those who have my back on the other side are there. And I know I have plenty of people on this side of the veil who do as well. But I feel like, I've been kind of trying to keep that closet door shut on this skeleton, and there may be folks knocking, trying to communicate to me that they they're with me and they will see me through, and to keep believing in myself and going forward, even if the terrain is still a little dim. This is a bright full moon, about as bright as it's going to get at night, and what follows is the dawn. So I think that these all tied together really nicely, and I thank you for joining me. It'd be very fun if you in the process pulled out your own decks and did this along with me. I meant to say that at the beginning, to offer that as an invitation to you to do so. And if you did, you don't have to give me the specifics, because again, this can tread into some sensitive personal territory, but let me know, though, if you found it effective, if you feel like it helped you shine the light on things that needed to be seen at this time, and if you have other spreads that you like to do at this time of year in particular, or even just shadow spreads in general, please share that in the comments with me as well. I always want to hear your thoughts, including if you got different reads on any of these cards. There might be something in amongst all of this that you picked up on, and if so, yeah, let me know that as well. I'd be happy to hear. So meanwhile, hope your Halloween is full of treats. No tricks unless they are the best kind, the fun kind, the all in good fun kind. Have a great time at parties, with the kiddos, trick-or-treating, whatever you might be up to. And if you go to any haunted houses, ooh, let me know that as well. I would love to hear it, whether it's one of those cheesy ones that, well, I shouldn't say cheesy. They have genuinely scary ones, don't they? It's been such a long time since I've been to one. I'm just thinking of the one my hometown used to throw, where they just had really cheap masks and everything. But if you go to like your local little haunted house, or if you have gone to like a legit haunted house that really is reported to be haunted, maybe you're even doing paranormal investigations. Ooh, if that's the case, I really, really want to hear about that. So please share all the fun Halloween tomfoolery with me. And until I see you next time, bye-bye.